Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, Anthropic sues the Trump administration, and the Secret Service is the latest agency to stop using Claude. It's Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. And now let's dive into the day's top headlines. Anthropic's relationships with other federal contractors face irreparable harm following the Trump administration's government-wide ban on the company and determination that it's a supply chain risk, the Claude maker said in a lawsuit filed in a federal district court on Monday. The legal challenge against the Pentagon, as well as multiple federal agencies and officials, seeks immediate and injunctive relief from President Donald Trump's directive banning the company from government use and the Department of Defense's designation of the company as a supply chain risk. Among its arguments, Anthropic alleges the actions violate federal administrative procedure law, the company's right to free speech, and are beyond existing legal authority. The lawsuit also provides new details about the ramifications for Anthropic's work with other companies contracting with the federal government. At least one federal contractor that Anthropic has worked with to build custom applications has already indicated that it may suspend that work or even remove Claude from existing deployments, and others the company has worked with are raising concerns, pausing collaborations, and considering terminating contracts, according to the lawsuit. It goes on to say that Anthropic has no way to obtain redress from the government for those economic harms, and it's estimated that the actions by the Trump administration could jeopardize hundreds of millions of dollars in the near term. Anthropic's legal challenge is the latest in a squabble between the AI giant and the DoD over how its technology should be used, that culminated in an outright ban on the technology in government. While Trump claimed the company was trying to strong-arm the DoD, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei said the company was trying to maintain safeguards to ensure that its technology would not be used in mass surveillance or fully autonomous lethal weapons. On February 27th, those tensions boiled over with Trump issuing his government-wide ban and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth designating the company as a supply chain risk to national security. Both announcements were made via social media. Over the days that followed the announcements, federal agencies took action to comply, canceling or pausing their own Anthropic uses. That included Anthropic's OneGov contract that made the service more readily available to entities in all three branches of the government, according to the lawsuit. Now moving on to other news, this one's also related to the government's ban of Anthropic, and the Secret Service can be added to that list of federal agencies or offices that said they won't use the company's Claude tool anymore. The Department of Homeland Security component had used Anthropic's Claude models for code generation, a focus area for many organizations, according to Secret Service CIO and Chief AI Officer Kraft. Kraft said in an interview with FedScoop that the code generation application has the ability to leverage Claude models, but they're easy to change out, adding that there's a whole list of different models that you can choose from and that the Secret Service will follow the guidance and leverage of other models. The Secret Service joins a growing group, as mentioned earlier in this podcast, of agencies that are phasing out Anthropic's technology following the company's clash with the Department of Defense in late February. Software developers at the Treasury Department had been using Claude Code, though Secretary Scott Bessent said last week that the agency would be terminating its use. The Office of Personnel Management, NASA, the Commerce Department, the General Services Administration, and the Department of Health and Human Services are all untangling Anthropic from their AI use cases if they haven't stopped using Claude already. The Anthropic DoD situation has illustrated the potential disruption that can come from relying on one vendor's AI technologies. Like the Secret Service, other agencies have decoupled specific AI models from applications, easing the transition from one model to the next. FedScoop previously reported that the State Department's generative AI chatbot, for example, could run on multiple models, and Claude was one of those options. When tasked with removing Anthropic, organizations that have built flexibility into their platforms can remove access to Claude without taking down the entire system, similar to GSA's USAI.gov platform. As the fallout continues, Kraft said he has been thinking about the importance of redundancy and proper testing. The challenge for technology leaders isn't the availability of different AI solutions, but rather knowing what models to use with which use case, he said, and according to Kraft, continuing to evaluate what's available and what's a good application of the different models, and having that to fall back on in case something's not available or the landscape changes is critical. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, as always, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.